such an asshole!
Hey everybody, the old captain here, and we're, Chicago, that titling town. Chicago, hey baby, I will show you around. One of my favorite towns, even though it's a leftist piece of shithole. We have a video request, and I actually had to do research today, which I hate doing when you fuckers make me actually earn my keep instead of me just blathering my wisdom. See, I could get by on 40 years of experience and all the research and the studying I've done. Like, it's there, it's right there. And then this gal or guy, I can't tell from the email. She says, "Oh, hey, what about this?" I'm like, shit, now I have to work. Now I actually have to look shit up. So I did. But this young lady writes, here's a video clip showing the productivity wages split, or the productivity gap, or what is also called the middle class squeeze, somewhere in the 1970s. Same thing here too. And she links to this EPI publication. I'm not too sure how exactly one goes about to measure productivity, but I assume there is some standard metric method to measure that. I've heard this same thing from multiple sources in the past, and this is about the productivity gap, how we are producing more per unit of hour of labor, but our median incomes have stagnated. But I'll get to that, just to give you context. I have heard the same thing from multiple sources in the past, yet no explanation as to why, not just from lefty sources, but even from more right-leaning or even libertarian-leaning folks either. Now, the article and video are left-leaning, and some of their solutions sound stupid to me, and they probably are because it's from Vox and, what is it, EPI? I don't trust EPI. Their solutions are in section titled EPI's Raising America's Pay Initiative. I didn't even bother looking at it because I know how to solve it. Can you do an analysis as to the real reasons why this productivity wage gap thing started in the 1970s in the first place? All right, well, let us talk about the labor productivity gap. Now, what that is, as I mentioned before, is you have labor productivity, which is a measure of economic production per unit of labor, per hour of labor. And back in 1945, the average American, if they worked an hour, they would produce $25 worth of GDP. And that $25 worth of GDP would not only go to pay their salary, their wage, would cover the cost of whatever it was that was made, and including the profits to the entrepreneurs, which I know leftists and socialists don't believe that management or overhead or entrepreneurship or owners are like, kind of a thing, and they shouldn't be compensated. We should just be like, oh yeah, I'll just spend all my time creating shit and give it to you for free. Perfect example of that is pharmaceuticals. I love how the leftists think, it's a life-saving drug and you're going to charge for it? It's like, yeah, we spent billions of fucking dollars developing this in trial and error. Yes, you're damn right we're going to charge for it. But neither here nor there. That $25 would go to pay everybody that was involved in the production and manufacture of whatever that good or service may have been. It could have been something as simple as nail salons, like the Vietnamese ladies over in my town. They large Hmong Vietnamese population. They all went into nails for some reason. I don't know if that's similar in your world or your towns too, but they gotta pay for supplies. They have to pay for labor. They have to pay for electricity, and in the end, they produce however many dollars, whatever we value a nail or a manicure for, all the way up to Boeing. I toured Boeing's facility. Well, that's a huge-ass motherfucking, multi-billion-dollar facility they got going on there, and their planes cost around $300 million each. It doesn't matter how big or small, it's the same concept. How much can we produce in 1 hour of labor? Now, it's $25 back in 1948. Today is around $105. It has stagnated since the Great Recession. And that's all good. Everyone's, that's more production. We're becoming more efficient. We can squeeze more production. Actually, we've quadrupled the amount of production we can produce with 1 hour of labor since 1948, but wages have not kept up. And this is usually, back in the day, like if you produce more per unit of hour of labor, your wage should go up with that, and it did for that first roughly 25 years. From the 1940s to the 1970s, wages and labor productivity moved in sync with one another. Now, that stopped in the 1970s. And what ended up happening more or less since the 1970s is wages, adjusted for inflation, have remained stagnant, while labor productivity has gone up. And our client would like to know, well, why the heck is that? Well, there are 3-4 reasons I've taken my notes. And I'm serious when I take notes, so let's review those. So the 70s is not coincidental. because two things, one very major trend that was already well underway, and then another trend that would pick up steam in the 80s and 90s were occurring, and that is we were outsourcing our manufacturing, and outsourcing not just manufacturing but services as much as we could from the United States to other countries overseas, and then the entrance of women into the labor force. Now this, two separate things, but they had the same effect, and that was it affected the supply of labor. All right, when we started outsourcing our manufacturing, as well as any jobs as we could, that disproportionately affected men. And what would happen is men, we had to make money. We got to, there's no jobs, or there's less jobs than there was before. So the supply of labor in the labor market increased. All right. Now, harkening back to basic economics 101, if supply goes up, your prices go down. Okay. So here's all these men. They're getting laid off. They're no longer working at the GM facility. It's been outsourced to Japan for Toyota. They're looking for jobs, and what they say is, hey, I'm desperate. There's more, and there's more of us now looking for jobs. We will work for less just to get by. So people get more and more desperate. Women also entered the labor force in increasing numbers, starting in the 60s, but certainly 70s, 80s, and 90s. Any of you remember your mother at home? Mom's at home. Remember that? Anyway, so there was a time back long ago that not only was there be a parent at the house to raise you, but then there'd be two parents. One would come home regularly, and it was called the nuclear family. But this is a thing of the past, and fuck that shit. That was sexist. It had no value whatsoever. Anyway, with more women entering the labor force, that also increased supply. And so it ended up where women and men were competing for jobs. And I know this is crazy. There was only a certain amount of demand for labor anyway. Okay? Economic production will be what it's going to be. And if all of a sudden you basically, not overnight, but because it wasn't like 1968 when it said, fuck you, we're entering the labor force. I mean, it was a trend. But over the decades, you more or less did double the labor force relative to the population. All right? Well, that population still demands roughly the same amount of goods and services. And simply doubling the labor, I mean, yeah, there was an increase in demand for daycare sitters and babysitters and child-rearing outsourcers, outsourciers. But aside from that, you basically doubled the labor force. So what did you think was going to happen to wages or real wages? So now you have women competing for jobs that used to be men. Men would, and it makes a lot of sense. People always ask, how is it we could live off of one income? Well, one, taxes weren't as high because you didn't have the state fucking taxing the little shit out of your salary to pay for and outsource your kids. And then two, you didn't have women flooding the market in the labor force. So men could command a higher per hour wage, and as productivity went up. But we gotta ignore that nuclear kind of stuff. It just ignore it. So there's that. Now the third, I say this is even more so than the effect of supply of labor into the market, is demand for labor. And this is where we start to introduce the roboticized economy and automation, and people are worried about being replaced, at McDonald's with a kiosk. And this is true. Companies want to make as much money as possible. And I don't know if you noticed this, but humans are not as reliable as machines. And this is not to disparage humans. Humans we gotta sleep, we gotta eat, we need breaks. Robots can go 24/7 and they won't give you lip and they don't show up drunk and all this other shit. So corporations, investors, businesses, entrepreneurs, they wanted to get rid of as many humans as possible because it just makes sense. You make more profit that way. So you got outsourcing to cheaper countries, you have women entering the labor force, and then you have just technology advancing where, we've had robots since the 80s. You've had automated plants going back then. But now, the internet alone, another perfect example. I remember this was a big deal where you would have to pay an American doctor, $100, $200 an hour to look at your fucking x-ray. Now we can text that to Punjab over in Delhi, India, and he'll do it for 20 because 20 goes a lot further in India. Another example of where this technology is wiping out, replacing humans with robots or technology is, do you remember the bike couriers? They would be biking around all downtown. Remember that? I was almost one of those in this town, actually. I was almost a bike courier in Chicago. And the reason they went the way of the dinosaur is because, well, we just attached PDFs. The vast majority of their documents were legal documents that had to be shipped from one law office to the other on the other side of town, or blueprint plans, things like that. Well, that's all been digitized. So why would, a lot of people, well, you shouldn't do that. We should keep employees. Really? Let me ask you this. Do you like being stuck in Chicago traffic? Because I was stuck in Chicago traffic. And it's interesting that Chicago traffic, especially their highway system, their toll roads haven't been automated. I still gotta go and give my fucking $3 now. I remember when it was 15 cents. You gotta give it to the human, and there's that human. Why do we have that? Why is it on? Well, because, you see, that's where politics comes in, and fuck society. Society better pay more when they come on the Chicago toll roads. So if you guys like traffic, you see, Uber's another example. Uber has obsoleted taxis. But oh no, we're going to force the rest of society to pay a higher cost and have shittier service so we can keep these people employed. We're going to force people to sit in traffic jams over in Chicago because we don't want to have these people lose their jobs. So we're not, is it troglodytes? No, not troglodytes. What was the Luddites? Look up Luddites, all right? It's basically, we shouldn't adopt new technology because some people might lose their jobs. So you have a small group of people that are too fucking lazy to go and get retooled in new skills. They're going to demand that we hold up the rest of society. We don't advance technology because they might lose their precious fucking jobs. Oh, heaven's mercy. So you could say that's all horrible that we're using technology, but you have no idea how expensive shit would be if we didn't let technology determine where we're going to invest and how we're going to invest and what kind of plants and what kind of labor we're going to employ. So there's that. And then finally, I know technology replaces humans in a, not to disparage humans, as I said, because it's nothing personal, but attaching a PDF file with law documents is easier, much cheaper than paying some poor guy to bike across the downtown area. The other thing is the quality of humans, I would argue. Now, this is not political, or this is not economic, or it could be political, but certainly editorial. But I'm sorry, humans, to quote Stefan Molyneux, suck. They fucking suck. They do. If it was World War II, I'd have no problem. Like, if it was World War II generation, you had a higher quality and caliber of humans back then. They'd show the fuck up on time. They're more responsible, but they're just better humans. They're just better humans. Today, oh, are you fucking joking me? Not only are humans the number, you look at every problem that's caused in the world. Aside from natural disasters, aside from tornadoes and lightning and fire and hurricane, aside from that, all problems, and the number one problems, are caused by humans. My buddy runs his airline. You know what his number one problem is? It's not the planes, it's the humans. They don't fix the plane right. They don't show up on time. Some of them crash the planes. Fucking hell. Why would you want something chaotic and unreliable as humans when you can replace it with a machine? This is why I'll probably never will hire an employee, because it's not worth it. It's not worth the pain in the ass to deal with it. And that's a good human. But today, you think I'm going to hire a millennial? You think I'm going to hire a Gen Xer or a baby boomer? Shit, I wish we could raise the World War II generation from the grave, from the dead, and then we might have some reliable fucking people for a change. Now, admittedly, I do actually hire some. There are every once in a while, and it's rare, and I do hire millennials to do some of my audio work. You do have to rely on some people to do something, but I will never take an employee. Fuck you. You come in here, I want this, I want that. I was talking to a buddy of mine, and they did a survey at his company about the millennials and what they wanted. And the laundry list of self-entitled cuntiness that they listed, it's like, oh my God, do I want to beat the fucking shit out of you people. We want to be more of a community. We want to be recognized for our work. We want higher pay. I want. It's like, how about you show the fuck up and do your fucking job? None of them will say it's another company where there's a labor aspect that these old timers are making good money, like $75,000 a year doing this job, but it's labor and it's outdoor work, and they cannot find millennials to take the fucking job. Fuck you. You think I'm going to hire a millennial when I can hire a computer? You think I'm even going to go into a business or start a business that would employ people? Fuck you. Hell, I even know every person I know who does some kind of product. See, I only provide services. I don't make a physical product. I only provide a service. because physical product, that requires inventory. And then inventory requires people to look over it. And I have to store it. That's a fucking pain in the ass. I don't want to deal with people. I don't want to deal with things, right? But some really brave souls, colleagues of mine, have actually, I want to produce a product. I'm like, okay, what are you going to do? Where are you going to produce it? Oh, guess what? It ain't in fucking California. It's over in China where it's cheaper than fuck and they fucking obey. So that's a fourth or fifth, whatever list we're on now. Why labor productivity has gone down is because the quality of humans, or not, the wage has gone down and labor productivity has stagnated in the United States. But why your wages have gone down is like, fuck you, I'm not going to pay you. Plus, not to mention, you millennials are all desperate, and the Gen Xers. Everybody's so desperate because there's so many people who want jobs, and there's just not that many. I mean, and I know a lot of you fake leftists who want to try and be economists. Well, the unemployment rate's really down low. Yeah, look at labor force participation. Look at underemployment, all right? So that is why, those are the main reasons why we have a labor productivity gap or the middle class squeeze, is because we've basically outsourced a lot of labor. Predominantly male-dominated or dominated industries. Women have entered the labor force, and then also technology, which is, basically replacing, and the quality and caliber of humans has gone down. Why the fuck would you want to pay these? I mean, really, look at what was it? University of California, Los Angeles. Not all the black. I'm sure there's some black students down there that disagree, but the black student union wanted separate housing. You think anyone's gonna hire those people? Those are lawsuits ready to happen. No one's gonna. I mean, I will gladly pay an extra $3 an hour to hire a computer or a kiosk than ever hire some victim whoring, race pimping victim professional at the University of California, LA. That's because I don't want the lawsuit. I don't want the trouble. I don't want the drama. So that's why your median income has stagnated. That's why you're not, all. And you say, oh, these corporations are making all. Yeah, yep, they are. Yep, and I can't fucking blame them, because who the fuck would want to hire you? So anyway, if you would like to close the wage gap, or not the wage gap, the labor productivity gap, that's going to take some doing. That's going to require that now we don't outsource jobs overseas. Well, good luck doing that, because companies might say, screw you, we're going to move overseas then. And then you won't even have the white collar jobs here in the United States. What we could also do is stop majoring in the liberal arts. We could, if you really want to do something, you could lower taxes in terms of fiscal policy, like where you eliminate corporate taxes and you make the United States a tax haven, like get as much motherfucking investment over here. And not low pay blue collar work where we're assembling iPhones here, but like we get Samsung, like, hey, get out of South Korea, we won't even tax it, come here. Hey, I don't know, does Europe have any companies that produce anything? Do you guys have anything that produces anything of real value? But basically just say, why are you over there getting taxed? Come here. And then demand for labor would go up, and that would at least compensate for the demand, the lack of demand. We're like, oh, but then we'd also have to tool up. You'd actually have to have real skills, like becoming accountants, programmers, engineers, IT people. But frankly, this gets back to reason number 4 or 5. American humans suck. Today's modern Americans suck. I wouldn't hire them to do anything. I really wouldn't. There's very few people I would hire. So basically, since we're a country of spoiled cunts, there is no solution to this. It's not until that there's a good-sized economic collapse and we actually pay the piper and we realize what it really takes to survive in this world, and instead of becoming the entitled millennial cunts that we're generating today, we become thankful that we have employment and we work hard, and not only hard, but we accept the fact that majoring in fucking Chicano American studies doesn't get us a job like majoring in chemical engineering. But see, that takes effort, and you know what? People would rather be lied to about the real world and be said, oh yeah, it should be easy. It's easy, than actually work hard and major in STEM. So anyway, hope that explained it. Hope we all learned a great economic lesson. Best of luck to all of you. Toodles.